Hey there, welcome back. I'm going to show you how to go from this to this. No kneading, no fancy equipment, no Dutch ovens, and hardly any work. To get us started, we're going to do 1 teaspoon of active dry yeast and 1 cup of warm water. If you're temping your water, you want it to be about 110 degrees. If you're just measuring it out of the sink, you just want it warm enough that you could keep your finger in it and it feels comfortable. I like to bloom my yeast for 5 to 10 minutes, but basically just until I see some activity happening so I know that it is in fact alive. Next, I'm going to add 3 cups of flour. I have used all-purpose flour and I've used bread flour, and they both turn out amazing, so whichever one you want to use is fine. We're also adding 1 teaspoon of salt, and then mix that until you have a shaggy looking dough. It doesn't need to be smooth, it doesn't need to look great. You're just looking for the flour to be fully incorporated into the water and not be too wet. Now we're going to cover this and we're going to proof it. I like to turn my oven on warm and let it warm up for maybe 5 minutes and then shut it off. Turn on the oven light and then put it in there just so that it holds its temperature, and it needs to sit for 3 hours. Now we're gonna pull the dough out. It should have risen about double in size. We're gonna preheat the oven to 425, and then we're gonna pull the dough out of the bowl and work some flour into it. We're not kneading it, we're more just shaping it into a ball. So how I like to do this is put some flour on so it doesn't stick to my hand, and then I just keep gathering the edges and kind of stuffing it into itself. And then when I feel like I've got that under control, I flip it over and I just keep tucking the sides in until I feel like it's holding its shape pretty well. You can throw a little more flour on it and just keep kind of pulling it down and tucking it into that bottom underneath your fingers. Work that until it's in a ball. So now you want 2 pans that will stack on top of each other, so it's kind of creating a lid. If you have a Dutch oven, that's great, you can use that. But for those that don't have a Dutch oven, I've used bread pans, I've used a glass pan and tented some foil on top. Now I've got these little cheap cake pans. They were like $2 or something at Walmart. Now I use these because I think that they work really well and they give it a nice color, and it's the perfect size for these. So you want to oil the bottom pan and the top pan, or the foil if that's what you're using. So here's the thing that changed the game for me. Before I put this in the pan to rest while the oven is preheating, I run it under some water. I don't soak it. I just turn the water on and I take the bread and like splash it under the water so that the top is covered. And what that does is it helps to steam the bread so that you get a nice crusty top on it. There are lots of other ways to do this, but this is the easiest way that I've found, and it has given me consistent results now for quite a while. You want to let your dough rest in the covered pans for about 15 to 30 minutes before you put it in your heated oven. And then throw it in there and cook it for about 25 minutes with the lid on. And after the 25 minutes, you want to open it up, take that top, either the foil or the pan, off, and then put it back in the oven for 10 to 15 minutes, depending on how dark you want it, and let it cook to get that nice crusty brown on there. When that 10 to 15 minutes is up, you want to pull it out of the oven. Hopefully it looks something like this. Put it on a cooling rack and give it a good 15 to 30 minutes to cool. Otherwise it'll get kind of gummy if you cut it too soon. So let that bread cool, and then you can cut it open and enjoy your bread, and you will be so thrilled that you made this with only 3 ingredients and 0 effort.